Alrighty, friends. Sorry I am not here today. I am at a conference down in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I did let you guys know. Sorry if you don't remember, but I did tell you, I promise. To make sure you're ready for today's tests, I'm going to go through each problem of the homework. If you do not have questions on a certain problem, you are allowed to skip ahead. And I will make sure to show you the answer before I show you the work. That way, again, if you got it right, then you don't have a question on it and you can move on. So let's go ahead and get started. The answer to number 1 is 37. So again, you can skip ahead if you got this one correct and don't need me to work through it. So for 37, we are replacing -2 and for in. So I have 5 times 4 minus a -2. This is where it's super important to plug with a hug with parentheses because I see 2 negatives, which makes a positive. So I have 5. 4 plus 2 is 6. And now I'm following GEMDAS. I apologize, I didn't say that before. So I did my group first, and now I move on to my multiplication. The 5 times 6 is 30, and finally 30 plus 7 is 7. For number 2, the answer is -5. And for this one, I am going to write GEMDAS down the side just to help me out because I see a lot going on. So for number 2, remember that we like to solve each piece separate. So I have the top and I have the bottom, the numerator and denominator. And so I'm going to separate my workspace here so that I can solve them separate. So I have -5 times 4 plus 3 minus 5 squared. And then on the bottom I have 3 times 4. So I'm going to start with the top, starting with my group here. 4 plus 3 is 7. Now moving on to my exponent, because that's what E stands for. So I have 5 squared is 25. Moving on to my multiplication, -5 times 7 is -35. And now combining these using subtraction, 35 plus 25 is going to be 60, but it is negative. Now my denominator, I have 3 times 4, that equals 12. So now I need to put these together. So I have -60 over 12, and that when you divide them gives you -5. If you need to look back at anything and watch it again, please feel free to do so. Okay, number 3, the answer is -1. And again, we are following GEMDAS here. And I recommend you write GEMDAS on your test like this. Okay, so I'm going to start with my division in this case because it's on the left and I just totally lied. I'm starting with my exponent because that is before. So I have 32 divided by 4 times 3 minus 25, because that's what 5 squared equals. Now I'm doing the division. 32 divided by 4 is 8. Bring everything else down. 8 times 3 is 24. And then 24 minus 25 is -1. Number 4 is 75. So I'm plugging in my -2 and my 4 for my x and my y's in the equation. So I have 3 parentheses, and when you have x and y next to each other like that, there's multiplication between them. So I'm going to have -2 times 4, and then I have that plus 3, and then my exponent's on the outside. So for this one, I'm actually going to start with my group like we normally do, and inside the group I reapply GEMDAS. So I'm going to do that multiplication first. So I have -8 plus 3. Finishing off the group, I have -5 And now is when I'm going to use the exponent. And so I have to do this first before I can multiply that 3. So I have 3 times 25, which gives you 75. Again, you will have a calculator on the test, so if you don't know that off the top of your head, that's okay. Okay, number 5 is 13. Replacing our variables with the numbers they give us. So I have 6 times 1/2 minus 5 times -2. I know multiplying by fractions is scary, so you have 2 options here. We could change 1/2 to 0.5 and do 6 times 0.5 in the calculator if you would like. That's always an option. Or we can think about it and say, what is half of 6? And I know that that's 3. So I'm going to do both my multiplications in the same step. So 6 times 1/2 was 3. 5 times -2 is -10. And I kept that in parentheses because I see I have 2 negatives here. 3 plus 10 is 13. All right, number 6. The answer is 3. So I'm going to have 4 times -3 minus 6 in the top. And again, I'm going to do my work here separately. On the bottom, I have 3 times -3 plus 3. 4 times -3, so I'm starting with my numerator on the left. 4 times -3 is -12. Bring down my minus 6. -12 minus 6 is -18. Now for my denominator, I have 3 times -3, that is -9 plus 3. -9 plus 3 is -6. Now let's put them together. I have -18 over -6. A negative over a negative is a positive, and 18 divided by 6 is 3. Oop, I'm taking the arrow with me, I guess. Let it settle. There we go. Okay, number 7. The answer for number 7 is 16. Plugging -1 in for C, so I have 2 times absolute value of 3 times -1 minus 5. Treating the absolute value like a group here. So I'm going to do the multiplication first. So I have 2 times parentheses, or sorry, absolute value, and I end up with -3 minus 5. Okay. -3 minus 5 is -8, but it's the absolute value of -8. So I have 2 times 8, which equals 16. Number 8 is -8. Plugging 12 in for x, so I have the square root of 3 times 12 plus 2 parentheses 5 minus 12. Writing down my GEMDAS. Okay, here I actually have 2 groups. That square root symbol, since there's 2 numbers underneath, it is going to be a square root or a group, and then the 5 minus 12 is also a group. So I'm going to do these at the same time. 3 times 12 is 36, and I keep my square root symbol around it. 5 minus 12 is -7. Now I'm on to the exponent step, which is where I simplify my square root of 36. So the square root of 36 is 6. And now I do my multiplication, and I have 6 plus a -14, or 6 minus 14, depending on how you wrote it. And 6 plus a -14 gives you that -8. All right, so now we're going to move on to the translations for these ones. Instead of me just writing down the answer, I'm going to underline the keywords first, and then I'll write down the answers. Number 9, the product of 5 and the difference of n and 6 is 10. So I have product, difference, and is. Those are my keywords that I see. Product means multiply, difference means subtract, and it needs parentheses, and then is means equals. So I have 5 times the difference of n and 6 is 10. Okay, for number 10, the quotient of h and 4 increased by 2 is 6. Quotient means division. Increased by means addition. Is means equals. So there's 2 ways we could do this. For quotient, we could have h and 4 plus 2 is 6. Or you could do, I hope I have enough room here, h divided by 4 plus 2 is 6. Either way, they are the exact same thing. Number 11, write an expression that represents the statement 7 more than a number x. More than is my keyword there. It means addition. It also means switching. So that means x is going to come first, and then I write plus 7. Number 12, write an equation that represents the statement 3 less a number plus 5 is 14. Less means subtraction. It does not say less than, it only says less. Plus means addition. Is means equals, and this one's really friendly because we just get to write it down exactly as it says. So I have 3 minus a number plus 5 is 14. All right, 13. Half the difference of n and 6 is the quotient of 12 and x. This one has a lot going on. So half to me means 1/2 times whatever that follows. Difference is subtraction with parentheses. Is equals. Quotient is division. So let's start with what's in front of is first. So I have half, which is 1/2 times, like we said, so I could put a multiplication symbol there if I want to. The difference of n and 6 would be n minus 6. And now I have the is. And what follows the is quotient, which means division. So I could have 12 over x. Or like we did in number 10, I could also write that as 12 divided by x. And last but not least, number 14, 9 less than the product of 7 and g equals 5. Less than means subtraction, but it is your switching word. Product is multiplication. Equals means equals. So I'm going to have this part first because of that less than. So I have 7g minus 9 equals 5. All right, if you have questions about one of these still, maybe re-watch that question. And then if you still have a question, ask a friend in the class. All right, guys, good luck on your test, and I hope to, or I will see you on Friday. Have an awesome day. Adios.